Hey everyone, I'm back. I finally got a good color look for Jimmy Page's shirt, so I'm happy. Um, Getting there. I fixed his hand too, which I was not happy with. So I'm liking it. It's still more work to get done, but a good base. So I'll work on the hands a bit more. Especially, I like his John Paul Jones's hands the best, but the color is a bit yellowish, and we got his body a bit reddish, but actually he is more yellowish, so I'll work on that. But for the Jimmy Page story, I can tell you a bit about it, and for those who have heard it already, my apologies. Hopefully you'll hear something new. But it happened back in 1992. We had heard rumors that Jimmy Page was recording in town in Vancouver with David Coverdale, and they came up with their album Coverdale Page. So I took a picture of my big Led Zeppelin painting and a picture of a painting I'd done of Jimmy Page, and I carried him with me and started going to the bars looking for Jimmy Page. I went with my cousin Frank, and we'd go out every weekend looking for him. And one night we went to Club Soda. If you live in Vancouver, you've heard of it. It used to be quite the club. We went to see a bass player called, I think it was Stu Ham. He had this thing where he would play the Charlie Brown theme, do, 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 do. He would play that on his bass, and at the same time he would do, da, 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 da. So that was his big thing. And he was a good player, and so we went and watched him. And every time the door opened in the club, I would look over. Oh, no, it's not Jimmy Page. And after a while, I started noticing that every time the door opened, everybody was looking over because everybody's thinking the same thing. They're looking for Jimmy Page. And one time the door opens and I look and I go, Frank, are those two guys from Van Halen? And it was Alex Van Halen and Anthony, the bass player. Sorry, I forget his name. Michael Anthony. And so it was like, well, that's cool. And everybody did the same thing, like, oh, cool. But, they were in town for a concert that Jimmy Page never did show up. But we heard later that he was at the town pump that night and he was up on stage playing. There's nobody there. They're all at Club Soda looking for him, I guess. So I actually had tickets for that Van Halen concert, and I went with somebody else. I usually go with Frank at all the concerts, but ended up going with Pete, who was the husband. I think he was just boyfriend of Sylvia, who I talked about before, who came and visited me. And he was in town staying with me for a few weeks because he was helping his ex brother-in-law with the printing business. And that was Jim. Jim had died after that fairly recently, and his new wife, Allison. So we went and visited them and just getting to know them. And I was telling him about my story, I showed the pictures and that. And Allison goes, I know somebody that knows somebody. I could maybe help you out. I'm thinking, wow, that'd be great. She goes, yeah, let me get back to you. So a few days later, I'm at work. I'm thinking, you know, she's never going to get back to me. But she phones and says, my friend knows somebody at the recording studio, and he said, take a picture of your painting and write a letter with like a page or two, and we can get it to him. So I, of course, freak out, and I know a photographer, so I got her to take pictures of both those pictures I was telling you about. And I wrote this letter that was exactly 2 pages. And the photographer took forever. I was freaking out. It was taking so long. And she finally got me the pictures, and I contacted Allison, and she looked into it and said, they've left. Uh, Jimmy Page and David Coverdale, they left Vancouver and they're at Jimmy Page's house in Florida, and they're finishing the recording there. So she said, I'll look into it and let you know what's going on. And so she got in touch with Jimmy Page's guitar technician and said she got his address. He was staying at a hotel, and to get the stuff to him, and he would get it to Jimmy Page on a good day. And that's a good place to end it on that. I'll tell you more of the story the next time. Hopefully, I'll get, I don't know, will I have this one or will I go back to one of the other paintings? I'm not sure. I'll probably move on. I got them right behind here. I'm not sure which one I should do. Probably John Paul Jones. We'll see.